This is Elias Dufexes. You're watching That Tom Clancy Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode of That Tom Clancy Show. I am, of course, your lovable robot host, Mr. That Tom Clancy. I still don't know why I'm a Mr., but hey, it just kind of started, and we're running with it. With us today are the developers behind a pretty badass-looking first-person shooter that was entered into last month's hashtag Pitch Your Game, which both Liam and myself kind of fell in love with, and I kind of had to have on the show. To give you an idea of the game that we're talking about, they have so nicely provided me with a beautiful trailer, which I will show right now.
A coward dies 1,000 times, but the valiant taste of death only once.
So, Bits and Pixels, please join me in welcoming our guests today, the two developers behind the game Perish, Brett and Regan.
Hello.
Hey, good to see everyone.
Hey, guys. Thanks for joining us today. So, I mean, hey, that was some decent applause there, so I'm pretty happy with
I can hear it. It's good.
Nice. So, well, welcome to the show. First question that we like to ask everybody here is, what are you guys playing right now?
Amazing question. You go first, Regan.
I haven't played it yet. I just downloaded the Ancient Gods DLC for Doom Eternal, so I'm going to be playing that today.
Topical.
Sure. Other than that, play like ridiculous amount of VR games, like loads of Blade and Sorcery and Boneworks a lot recently.
Nice. I've been getting into VR Dungeon Night with a friend of mine in the community, actually. We played a little bit of that last night, and then some of the multiplayer Beat Saber as well.
Oh, yeah. I
Didn't know there was multiplayer Beat Saber.
Yeah,
it
like
got added in last week.
Nice.
Actually, a friend of mine and a host of another virtual reality podcast, Alex VR, managed to play a game against John Carmack.
Oh,
really?
that's awesome.
Was there like matchmaking?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how it happened. It's on his YouTube channel. I'm not going to link it because I don't promote those guys. Actually, I kind of do because they're all right. So, you know what? Hey, let's put it up there in the corner, which I'm having a hard time pointing to. So I'll just do that. But yeah, I just thought it was, that happened. And it's just like, what? That's certainly cooler than the time I saw Cliff Bleszinski through his posse.
Yeah.
When did you see Cliffy B?
That was 2013.
Mm.
Yeah, it was 2013 at East Coast Games Conference, and I looked over, and he was surrounded by like basically a posse, and I just looked over. I was like, "Yeah, it's Cliffy B," and then that was it.
He's a very
Did-
popular guy, isn't he?
Probably.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
like
big.
I didn't say hi to him or anything, and nobody else was hounding him, but like, dude had like a ring of dudes around him. I'm just like,
Like a
like,
rock star.
Yeah,
I'm
security
sorry,
detail.
man. Like I understand, Gears of War, Unreal, stuff like that. But dude, you're not a rock star, even in like the games industry.
Yeah,
Like you don't need a
John
posse.
Romero.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, John Romero is effectively the only rock star of game development. Hey, John Romero, if you're watching, I'll be on the show sometime.
Badass.
We'll get you a rock star's entrance, I promise. Um, but yeah, so it's just like is what it is, though, right? So,
For real.
Brett, what are you playing? Because
Yeah, I'm playing. I have been playing Phasmophobia with Regan actually, which is hilarious fun. Bizarre name, but great game. And I've just downloaded Amnesia Rebirth, so that's what I'm going to be playing as of tonight.
it is spooky game month. That
It's
is for
spooky
sure.
game month. It's Halloween, and I'm all about spooky games. And I'm also playing all the Halo games from start to finish on Legendary again, because what else are you going to do in COVID times?
Yeah, it's a pretty good answer. Let's see what yeah, I'm not really playing too many spooky games, though. I've been playing a little bit of Among Us, which I guess is kind of spooky.
Yeah, I go with that.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a good imposter. And then although
I love the concept for that game.
oh yeah, I love hidden role games. Speaking of tomorrow night, which is going to be tonight by the time the show goes live, I'm going to be playing some Unfortunate Spacemen with the community. It's just kind of like a fun get together, play some games kind of thing. If you aren't familiar, it's basically Among Us, except first person, free to play, and the imposter is actually an alien.
Yeah,
And
it's a New Blood game, isn't it?
yeah, oh man,
Yeah.
I really
I
dig
love
it.
that.
It was pretty cool.
I was
Except
just going to say I'd like a first person one, so now you said that, there is one.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's free.
yeah, there is. And I mean, of course, there's also like you could go back to Gmod and like play Murder, which is again basically the same game. It's just like I was doing a bunch of thinking on stuff like this over the last couple of days, and it's variations on the same formula, but by putting slightly different twists on it, everybody's able to create like this entirely different experience.
Definitely.
Yeah, quite a riffable concept.
Mm-hmm.
So many different places it could work as well, with different genres and sort of locations, like I don't know, on an old ship or something, like a merchant vessel. I want to see more.
What like
Any asymmetric multiplayer games are pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I also
sorry, you could do like an Obra Dinn spin-off where you
Yeah.
play what happened.
Yeah.
no, yeah. There was also if you like asymmetrical multiplayer games, a game that just came out last week or the week before called Panoptic. It's an asymmetrical VR multiplayer game where one player is like, for lack of a better word, a god, and they are protecting like this kind of like temple kind of thing, and the other player is a person who has to get in and destroy these multiple objects.
That's cool.
They're like a really tall and they have to like. I think I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
where
all, like,
they're like basically a mask, and they have like a laser
And then
beam
they
that
all
they
have
can
that,
shoot.
like, super
Does it
tiny,
literally look like the Panopticon?
I don't know what the Panopticon is, so I don't know.
Oh, but it's basically a prison where there's a big central tower in the middle, and all the prisons are in a circular form around it. And
Then,
the idea,
kind of yes.
Yeah, it's a bit like
interesting.
Yeah, because the VR player is in the central location, and the traditional player is going around. Level design generally is, and effectively, a circle around them.
Cool.
And also, too, it supports Steam Remote Play, so also cool. I'm not sponsored by those guys, but I'm trying to get them on the show, so I like to give them a plug whenever I can. Wink.
that's the
Wink.
That's one of the things too. Like, there's so many ideas for like these asymmetrical multiplayer games, especially with VR, that I'm really digging. Because there's Panoptic. There's another game in development called Devigo, who also was in hashtag Picture Game last month with you guys. Tried to get them on the show, but they're like nose to the grindstone on development, so they were like a no. So, which I fully understand and support, and like, when you guys are ready, you're on the show. There are seats on that couch for you. And that it's kind of similar to Panoptic, except that it's the VR player is a giant, and it's like an arena battle game. And so the traditional player is trying to kill the giant's trying to kill the traditional player. And then Operation Armstrong is also another one where the VR player is like playing a stealth game, and then you have like kind of Jackbox style. Other people can like join in with you and provide you information to help you not get killed by robots.
Interesting. What was it called again?
Operation Armstrong.
Operation Armstrong.
sounds hard to
Cool.
make.
Yeah. It
It does.
certainly isn't. It certainly isn't easy, that's for sure. But we've gone on long enough about these other games because we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about Perish. So, for people who aren't familiar with the game, or like may not have picked up exactly what the game is from the trailer, tell us about Perish. Like, what is it?
I'd say, well, you start with the gameplay, and I'll go into the other bits.
The gameplay is, I would say, simple and satisfying. It's a first-person shooter, but there are also melee weapons. There's a number of upgrades, and the loot is you're starting in what we call the Pantheon, where you gather your gold and you purchase upgrades. You go into Purgatory, which is this battle arena where you have to complete a series of objectives. Why do you do this to me? Sorry, sirens outside.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, living in the city.
This is what Brexit's like. This chaos out there.
Okay. War's going on. No, so you start in the Pantheon, and that's where you purchase your upgrades and your weapons and your different abilities, and you use those upgrades to progress further into Purgatory. Purgatory, you have to complete a number of different objectives, showing your prowess in battle, fighting the demons of Purgatory, who are all lusting after the same gold that you are. And if you die in Purgatory, then you lose all of the gold that you've collected, and you are sent back to Pantheon moneyless. So it really is a balance of risk and reward, where you can go back to Pantheon during your run, lose your progress in Purgatory, but keep your gold. So it's all about that kind of balance of risk versus reward, and getting really greedy and getting further than you ever have, and then losing it all if you're not careful.
nice.
So yeah, I'd say Perish is about the perfect run, where you've basically got to pick a weapon that suits your play style, and then kind of when you get your friends, because you can play with up to 3 other people, and then try and get them to have weapons that sort of complement your weapon, and together you can kind of keep back the hordes enough for the platform basically to rise all the way up to heaven, which is where the end game scenario is. So the idea of Perish is basically you've got these 12 tasks, and you've got to complete each task sequentially in the level. And if you die, you've got to do all the 12 tasks again. And if you go back to bank your gold, you've also got to do those 12 tasks again. So the idea is you could probably, if you were really good at Perish, you could do a whole run of Perish with the first weapon that you get, which is a broken sword. Like rubbish. It's difficult to use, unwieldy, and the whole point of Perish is to farm a bit of gold, run back, go back, farm a bit of gold, run back again, and then get a massive badass weapon with a bunch of upgrades, and then just see how it annihilates demon after demon as you go back into the arena and finally sort of push your way to heaven. So yeah, as Regan said, risk versus reward.
And that's when we start throwing the crazier and the more difficult enemies at you. Once you think I've cracked this now, I've completed the first 4 objectives, I'm slamming with this new weapon I've got, and then an unbelievable monster comes out and just destroys you, just ready
I'd
to pick
say,
you back up.
Yeah, I'd say if you've played Bloodborne before, it's like the dungeons in Bloodborne, but as an FPS.
See, I
With-
was
with
never good
friends.
enough to get to those dungeons, so you have basically told me I have no chance of playing this game.
We've skipped a step. You don't have to go through the whole Bloodborne campaign, story,
Just straight to the dungeon.
and it's just hectic FPS combat.
All
We're
right.
trying to make it balanced as well. So I don't like games that are crazy hard. Well, actually, I do. I love Devil Daggers, but that's a level of FPS difficulty that I think would alienate a lot of people. So it's still an easier game than you'd expect it to be from maybe how it looks and how it sounds. But there's still definitely challenge there later on in the later stages when you get maybe to the 6th or 7th task of the Pythias, sort of halfway through the game. I think it definitely steps up in difficulty.
Nice.
Although speaking of Bloodborne and Dark Souls, I've never made it to the dungeons in Bloodborne or ever finished a Dark Souls game. I think the furthest I've ever gotten is in the first one, and I maybe halfway.
Regan, I appreciate your effort to make me feel a little better. Strangely enough, I am better at Dark Souls 3 than any other game in the series.
What it was, but Dark Souls 3 I found so difficult.
Really, it's definitely the easiest one for
I
me.
don't know why.
Yeah, because Dark Souls 3, the original Dark Souls, I made it to the gargoyles and never progressed. Bloodborne, I never even made it to a boss fight. But somehow in Dark Souls 3, I at least managed to get to like the tree thing.
That tree thing, so cool.
Yeah. And I mean that's a solid like at least 2 bosses in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fairly far into the game.
Non-optional bosses too, I might add. So, well, a moment ago you mentioned something about the looks of the game, and I will say that's one of the things that really stood out for me, aside from like the kind of like hectic pace of the game. But you have this very stark visual style, kind of grayscale with these hints of like gold and silver. What was the thinking behind that? Like, why that particular style? Oh no, battery exhausted.
Oh dear.
Right.
Oh, whoa. Stop trying to imitate me there, Regan.
Yeah, you look just like the...
Yeah, I have forgotten.
Well, let's take a real quick pause here for technical difficulties.
Indeed.
And we'll be right back. And we're back. Quick technical difficulties there, which have now all been sorted without me having to refer to my ceiling display to help solve everything. Welcome back, Regan. Thank you for not imitating me anymore. We were talking about the visual style and what kind of led you in that direction.
Yeah, so the visual style came to me, I suppose we were making a game called Blister, which had a very sort of ordinary I guess a Rainbow Six style aesthetic. And I just wanted to make something that just was full of demons and just. At the time, I was working at an architectural firm doing Unreal projects, and that sort of oversaturated me with the concrete and the brutalist style and the sort of ordinary stuff. And I had to sort of break out a bit and try something completely different. So I basically wanted to make loads of monsters in ZBrush, and Regan wanted to blow them up in Unreal. So we put those two things together, and Perish was born. But the art style itself, the black and gold aesthetic, it came to me while looking at sort of different cathedrals around Europe, because you might notice that a lot of cathedrals have this kind of marble, it's grey, sometimes white or cream, like Valencia, but like sometimes very dark marble texture, and then sort of beautiful gold filigree patterns all over. And I just thought, that looks so striking. What if I could somehow turn that into an art style for a game? And it turns out there's already another artist that sort of does it as well. He's called Bill Ellis. He's a 3D sort of concept artist. He makes really nice artwork, and I just thought, well, he's managed to make it work. Maybe I can make it real time. So that's where the idea for the sort of aesthetic came from. And I also thought it served a functional purpose within the game as well. So, anything that's black or grey or silver or lead or whatever, is not necessarily interactable. But when you see something gold, something, you can do something with it. And that's kind of the visual function that I want to impart in the game as well.
Nice. That little bit of implied interactability through environmental design.
Yeah.
And I will say there is additionally another artist who has a similar style. It's actually the guy who made the background here, VR Human on Twitter and Instagram. He has a whole series of like these black and gray and gold animals, hands. He even made a few like Instagram filters for it too. So
cool.
Yeah, I like to drop his name whenever I can because he I have his complete permission to use the background. I've confirmed it like in quintuplicate. So, I just like to throw props to him whenever I can. So yeah, his work is also worth checking out.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And he does a lot of his sculpting in VR as well. So, but again, not here to talk about Vlad. Vlad, be on the show. Come on, man. We're here to talk about you guys. No, it's definitely interesting. Like because in your press kit you referenced that you take a lot of inspiration from Greek and Roman mythology, and especially to their architecture and their visual style kind of comes through in this game too, because like your kind of marble kind of aesthetic feels like something like their old architecture. It feels like kind of Jason and the Argonauts, like fighting these Greek and Roman statues.
Yeah, as we release more and more progress, I definitely want to convey that feeling more and more. This kind of Jason and the Argonauts is a great. I loved that movie when I was a kid, and I just want that kind of Ben-Hur style, kind of everything's massive and big swords, big chariots, but with the touch of Hades, with the touch of the underworld.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now, I this is a question I was saving for later, but you brought it up when you mentioned Unreal, which, again, I'm just going to say this every time that I have an Unreal developer on the show. We are not sponsored by Epic in any way whatsoever. We do develop the show in Unreal Engine 4. I just also like to talk about Unreal Engine because, I'm a corporate shill. So, as memory serves, it's just the two of you who are making the game. So I guess there are a couple questions I have, and the first one I have is how has your decision to use Unreal kind of empowered you as a small team?
I think part of it is that we've been using UE4 specifically since it was released publicly in March. I don't even remember
2014.
Earlier, yeah. So I was in college then, using it for fun basically. Ended up using it in my university dissertation, and Brett was getting involved because he was already quite good at doing 3D art, and eventually that turned into us doing. We were making Blister at the time, but obviously it wasn't making any money. So we went into doing Unreal freelance work, so like enterprise solutions for architects and visual effects companies and that kind of thing. And we're still sort of juggling that with the game at the moment. Although now the balance is a bit better on our side, getting more time to work on the game. But just years and years of doing that, and like the variety of things that we've worked on is much more than it ever could be if we had made an entire game and released it in this time. So I kind of our knowledge of UE4 is almost been like sped up by the type of work that we've had to do, and it's been lucrative enough for us that we're able to now spend a bit more time working on the game and not just slaving away, as Brett said, making concrete and buildings for people in suits, and instead making chiseled, statued spendthrift abs and black rock, which is what we really care about.
That's all I care about.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only thing in my mind. And because of that, it was natural for us then to continue using Unreal, essentially because it's what we know is, and I think the tools that it gives you and the starting point that it gives you is a lot further along than a lot of other engines. I think that's why some programmers can prefer more basic engines like Godot and Unity, which I think are awesome as well. UE4 gives you an instant step up, though, in sort of in especially in visual fidelity, and it's clearly more geared towards that. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we've stuck with it, just because it's just a really good platform for us to develop on.
The amount of free stuff they give out as well is there's such a beneficent, wonderful company to make stuff for and just to be part of.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
You had mentioned, being with Unreal since it effectively came out. And I mean, it came out in 2014, right after GDC of that year. And it originally started at a subscription of, I think it was $19 a month. And within a year, they switched it to free. Not like free, some license with watermarks everywhere, but completely free until you make like $1 million, at which point you owe them some money. But, for an indie developer, that is, that's huge. That is, you're getting a true professional grade engine at no cost. On top of that, you have the Unreal Marketplace stuff that's given away free every month. I mean, and now that's not even just like 4 things, it's up to like 8 or 10. So speaking of, if you're an Unreal developer and you haven't already, go grab your free Marketplace content for the month of October.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have. I've like picked up everything that's been offered for free, and I think I have used none of it. But
yeah, I've actually stopped picking them up because I know I only get the ones that I really know I'm going to use, because I'm just like, my library is just ridiculously big now because
they do need to implement a better way of organizing the library.
Yeah, I don't love the launcher in general.
No.
Separate the Unreal Engine bit from the Epic Game Store bit.
I will say, I think it's funny that the Epic Game Store doesn't have like a cart, but the Unreal Engine portion of it does.
That's true, actually. I didn't think of that, but you're right.
It's like
they're clearly 2 totally separate teams.
Yeah, very clearly. I'm friends with several of the people on their community team, and they're very quick to tell you what portions of the company they don't work with, and it's always like, I don't work on Fortnite, you know.
Yeah,
Not that there's anything wrong with working on Fortnite,
that's what
uh,
everyone assumes.
but like, you know, you don't want to throw your Fortnite questions at the Unreal Engine guy or the marketplace guy, you know. So that just makes sense. But yeah, I appreciate Unreal for how it empowers the small teams, especially. You know, like, I mean, this is a solo operation, you know, and the power of Unreal, the ease of use, especially for things like materials and shader editing, uh, you know, like just makes my life so much easier. Uh,
Definitely. If the shader stuff, for me personally, as the technical artist, um, it's absolutely incredible. I don't know if I'd be able to make the same range of interesting effects where I'm working in Unity right now. I'd want a team. So that's why Unreal is so amazing. We can forego having a bigger team because we don't have the budget for it,
yeah,
obviously. Um, we can do it ourselves. UE4 just amazing rapid prototyping.
yeah. I mean, not to say that you can't do that with other engines at all, uh, but Unreal rules. So, uh, look, man, yeah. All right. So this is enough. Again, reiterating, this is not a commercial for Unreal Engine. I am not sponsored in any way whatsoever by Epic Games. So, earlier in the show, you mentioned that the game is not just a single player experience, but a multiplayer experience. How difficult has that been in your design process to balance and also build around being a single player up to a 4-player game?
It's definitely the cause of the most, you know, troubles and problems that we have. It's an inherently hard thing to design for and to implement, but it's so worth it when it's all working. Because we've kind of grown up, together being brothers, playing co-op games, and we're a little bit saddened that there are less and less of them now. I think maybe there's like a little bit of a resurgence coming back, but now they're just traditional co-op games that we always love to play together, and we really wanted to make one. And it's not easy, to be fair, at all. You know, any kind of networking is inherently difficult, especially when it comes to game dev. But um, again, not to shill UE4 even more, but I think UE4 has a great networking system that is relatively easy to use when it does come to implementing networking in your game, and then designing for it is difficult as well because I want people to be able to play it by themselves as well. I mean, at the moment that's the main way I play it. I play it solo all the time. Um, so we have to make the game cater for that for any number of players. So there's a lot of thought into almost if you think of like Left 4 Dead, where they have that behind the scenes they don't talk about it, but they have this director
Mm-hmm.
that's directing how the game is going during the game and constantly looking at how many players there where are they, where should I be spawning zombies. We essentially have a version of that that scales itself up and down based on how many players there are. So if you've all
All
got a
created by Regan.
4-player party, yeah, if you've got a 4-player
Very
party,
cool.
you know, and you're going into purgatory, you are going to get onslaughted by enemies because the spawn director knows you can take it. Whereas if you go in by yourself, you should feel a similar level of kind of overwhelmingness as you would as the 4 players. And it also kind of leads us to push the players to kind of stick together a little more rather than if they all split up, because then it knows that and it can exploit that.
Yeah.
And one person can easily get overwhelmed by the number of enemies that can spawn in a 4-player game. So it's really to encourage more teamwork and having options for upgrades that cater for single players and for co-op players, like abilities that work well together, and also some abilities like we have these crowns that you can put on that are essentially kind of modifiers to the game. So there's one really interesting one where it's called a glass crown, and when you wear it, you can only take one hit before you die, but it doubles all of the gold that you pick up. So it's kind of a massive risk reward kind of thing. And then there's one which is kind of for lone wolves where it might increase your strength a lot because you're by yourself.
Now, before each session, will players be able to kind of hot swap this around? So that way, if I know I'm going to be going in and playing with a few friends, I can get my multiplayer build or, all right, I saw that nod.
Yeah, everything from the shop is configurable while you're in Pantheon. The Pantheon is essentially like the lobby of Perish, where you and your friends will spawn out of your coffins and ready up before you actually go into Purgatory.
I will say, from the trailer that you guys gave me, it did feel a bit like the 2016 Doom opening, where you're pushing the lid of the coffin off, and I was just like, yeah, I can get behind this kind of craziness.
Yeah, I love that intro. It just gets straight into it.
Yeah, and then you have
Exactly
your
what happens in the game, really.
creepy ghoul dude being all you must do the challenges and then you can go to Elysium.
Spot on. That's exactly it.
Is that how he sounds too in the game?
Yeah, pretty much.
He does at the moment. I think it's a priestess in the trailer, but in the game, it's just me at the moment because we don't have any voice actors.
What up?
Yeah, bring it.
We can talk after the show.
Climb over that table.
Huh?
What's that, Regan?
Yeah, he sounded like you were going to fight him. Bring it. Climb over the table.
Bring it. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Bring it on.
I'm just saying, you want a voice actor. I know a guy who's trying to get into some voice acting.
No, I mean, you've got the voice for it.
Well, thank you. To me, I sound like an idiot. So
it's a marvelous deep timbre.
I'm gonna thank the microphone for that, and a few years of smoking, which public service announcement: don't smoke, don't vape, and tip your waitress or waiter. So tip your wait staff. Cool.
I'll go with that.
Oh man, every episode is always just it always kind of devolves into a level of lunacy, and the question always is, what lunacy will it be today?
Yeah.
For us, it was talking about asymmetrical multiplayer games, and then that. So,
I'm all for lunacy.
I mean, that's kind of like the idea of the show because, yeah. So, I mean, that was an excellent explanation, I know. Well, gentlemen, I'm unfortunately out of the main questions for the show. But before I can let you go, there's one last thing that I subject all of my guests to, and it's a little bit that I like to call the 5 questions. Now, if you guys are unaware, or anyone in the audience who are here on their first time, the 5 questions are a series of, 5 questions that I prepared before the show that have pretty much nothing to do whatsoever with anything we've talked about so far. So,
love it.
Because there are 2 of you, that means I'm expecting 2 answers per question. They can be the same answer, but there's no I'm going to defer to Brett on this one. Everybody answers the 5 questions.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. Who or what is your favorite movie monster or killer?
You're not going to answer, Regan?
Oh, no, he's going to answer.
I liked it's difficult because I really like it in the first half. I liked the ghost in Insidious.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just got really bad in the second half and it looked like Darth Maul. But I liked it in the first half so much and it really sticks in my mind for some reason.
That was like that red-faced demon thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like when they
yeah,
did
yeah.
show him really clearly, like it was really spooky, I thought.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go classic and say Alien. It's
Yeah.
H.R. Geiger, best character design ever. Unsurpassed in what 40, 50 years now.
Uh,
1970. Like it came
it's
out in late.
79, I think. So
Yeah,
it'll
that
be
was it.
41 years now.
41 years. Absolutely, just no Alien movie has topped it since. Not even Arrival. Nothing looks
Well,
like it.
the Arrival aliens weren't supposed to be scary.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, they were supposed to be alien but helpful. So, yeah, dude,
And that was a
yeah.
that was a marvelous movie as well.
Oh, yeah, dude, Denis Villeneuve is one of the modern masters of filmmaking. Dude has a level of patience that nobody has. So, I can't wait for his Dune movie. I'm really sad it got pushed back until November of next year.
Same.
So,
It might be the first Dune movie to really do the book justice.
I feel that the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries from the early 2000s came fairly close.
Oh, to be fair, I didn't watch that.
Well, then, it was Sci-Fi teamed up. I forget who with, but like they did a very good job of it. And then they also ended up doing Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune as like one. They did, at least they did Children of Dune for sure. I stopped reading after the first one. Like Dune is one of those books that I think is excellent, but I hate it.
Yes, the length and the technicality. It's like watching someone else play Civilization for 10 hours straight when you're reading it.
Well, that leads perfectly into question number 2. What's your favorite book?
There's a question for Regan.
Well, it's a question for both
I,
of you.
One I read
True.
fairly recently, which I really enjoyed, that I think Brett recommended to me, was the what's it called?
Is it in Ian M. Banks?
Yeah, it's an Ian Banks. It's an Ian Banks book.
Was it Use of Weapons?
No, it wasn't use. Oh, it's consider
Phlebas. Yeah, consider
Phlebas.
Phlebas.
Yeah, exactly. That I don't really read a huge amount, but I don't know, that book just absolutely, it was so good. I was absolutely enthralled by it for like, I just read it. I mean, probably slow for a lot of people, but for me, like, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, just on the train every day, I'd read it, and that's quite unusual for me, to be honest.
Nice.
I think one of my favorite books is a book called Aethen. I think the author is A.W. Kinglake, and it's this really interesting semi-fictional travel documentary almost from the sort of I think it's the mid 19th century from Wallachia in Romania, and he just travels across the Ottoman Empire, and just crazy stuff happens to him along the way, and you're not sure whether he's made it up or whether it actually happened to him or something in between. It's a just absolutely riveting book, and you can't believe it's been written so long ago. It's kind of one of the world's first travel books, but there's a lot of violence and death and madness along the way. It's a really interesting book.
The interesting thing is, especially given the history of that particular region, you never know if it really, in a weird way, if it like really happened or not. Because I mean, Wallachia is also the region where Vlad the Impaler is from, and so there's all of that history that actually happened. And then, of course, the Romanians and the Ottomans didn't particularly get along, and the Ottomans, strangely enough, didn't get along with a lot of people. So I mean, like, who knows? So
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm sure historians know. So sorry, historians. I know that you know, but you know what I mean. And how many times can I get no into this little brief moment? I don't know.
I really enjoyed it in that
Nice.
book. If you can find it anywhere, give it a go.
Cool. Well, question number 3. What is the trade skill that you've always wanted to learn?
A trade skill. Does that mean it has to be something like manual?
Yeah.
I think I did like a little bit of woodworking in school, and I did honestly pretty terrible. But I've always wanted to actually. I've always thought if I had gone back and actually tried properly, what I could have made. Because now I kind of appreciate. I guess kind of since I had got like a 3D printer and started just kind of making stuff and been doing like silicone molding and stuff, and I just thought, oh, what if I'd actually tried when I went back and did woodworking, like carpentry and all that kind of thing, furniture making. So probably I'd go with that.
Nice.
I would say gardening. I just love to be outside. It's such a an opposite to what I do at the computer. And
Yeah.
I've recently acquired a wonderful garden, and I realized how little I know what to do with it. But the things that grow in it are amazing. So that's definitely the trade skill I'd pick up.
That's such
Nice.
a departure from Perish, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Save the planet kind of gardening sort of skills. I'd pick those up for sure.
Nice. Question number 4. Name a villain that you have agreed with.
Ooh.
That one comes from a member of the community, Adam. He's a friend of mine who lives about an hour south of me here. And just you guys are the first people I've had on the show since he recommended that question. So you guys get to be the first to answer it.
That's a challenging one.
I know.
Yeah, that is a hard one. I feel I need to think.
I'll answer while you think.
Yeah.
It may not be. I mean, I may think about this question later and come up with a better answer. But I'm going to say Iago from Othello, where there's a sort of Machiavellian element to his philosophy that I find honestly very sinister, but also at the same time reflects something about the world that Shakespeare lived in and also the one that we live in today, where kind of nothing has really changed. And so maybe it's not necessarily agreeing with Iago, but resonating with something about the way he sees the world and the sinister way he interprets the world, and cynical way he interprets the world. There's something that resonates there, I think. And there's also a really cool song by a British drummer, Yusuf Diaz, and it's called Othello. Amazing drumming in it, and that just made me think of it as well. So yeah, Iago from Othello, maybe.
I think for me, I actually got I got Last of Us 2 recently, and controversial game as we know, and even though I'm actually not talking about Abby, who is kind of pinned as the villain for the first like half of it, I kind of think all the normal people that you fight, the regular humans that you fight in The Last of Us, especially as Ellie, like I don't know what it was, but Last of Us 1 like motivated me, and they portrayed them as bad people that you were killing, and in Last of Us 2, the whole time I was like, why these people? I feel like I'm the bad person, even though I am everything in the story is sort of frames it as you know, they push this like, it's a terrible circle of violence, but and the gameplay just is like at the opposite end of that, where you're just slaughtering thousands of people who all seem, they don't give me any reason to think of them as a villain, even though they are portrayed as one from Ellie's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really rubbed me the wrong way with it, I think, which was surprising because The Last of Us 1 was one of my favorite games ever, and I did really like it for the first while, but after a bit, you just kind of get desensitized to it. Maybe because I'm older now that I've played Last of Us 2, and I was a bit younger then. The Last of Us 1. I've matured, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm a bit conflicted with it in my mind.
I can tell.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
both can tell.
Yeah.
Well, that
I'm
leads
so big.
us. Oh, don't worry about it. To question number 5. What is your favorite street food?
Oh, I know this immediately. Taiwanese fried chicken breast is the best food anyone has ever made, ever. It's a big chicken breast. They flatten it to like a centimeter or less thin, and then it's coated in this like breadcrumb mixture that has like salt and pepper and chili in it, and then they just like fry the shit out of it. And
Said
like
Taiwanese.
so quick. Yeah, it's Taiwanese. Yeah, it's
It's
absolutely amazing.
interesting you say that because in roughly 8 hours, I'm going to be doing another one of these with a developer from Taiwan.
Nice.
So
Well, I hope
I'll check
it
that
is
one.
traditional what I've described.
Well, I
I'd have it.
also made sure that this question is there for them because I especially love getting this answer from countries that I haven't been to.
What about you, Brett?
Brett, did you freeze?
He looks like he looks frozen.
I mean, it's a daunting question, I know, but
It looks like his head's gonna pop.
I'm just doing a thing. Don't mind me.
Oh yeah, his thing on Discord is loading.
Yeah. Oh no, we have lost.
He goes,
We have lost him for now. Yeah. So I'll
what
just
if
talk
we
to you about my
what if we
favorite
both
street
get
food.
one? Yeah, do it.
It's honestly it's a really hard question because like there's so much good street food like everywhere, right?
Street food's the best food.
It really is. I mean, in New York City, it's like the hot dog carts, and like don't get me wrong, I have no illusion in my mind that they are good for me, but they're delicious. In Chicago, also hot dog carts.
Yeah.
But then you go to like the UK and you start seeing like shawarma kebabs and stuff like that. And now you're over on Brett because
I'm
Brett
over here.
is completely gone. Wait, is he
Hello,
trying to
I'm
come
back.
back? There he is. All right.
Sorry, my internet likes to die on me sometimes.
No worries. So, question number 5 to you: what is your favorite street food?
Oh yes. I have a lot of street food that I really like. Perhaps my most recent favorite is just proper British sausage rolls. You can get these small ones, sort of like a selection of different flavors, at a hoggery in Brighton, and it's just so good. Such an easy, delicious food.
I can't
I
say
love
I'm
that.
familiar with this one.
A hoggery. It's like a short crust pastry with sausage meat throughout it in sort of a tube kind of shape with slits in the top.
So it's basically exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not that inventive.
I
Yeah.
mean, look, I'm not going to say that you are. I've been to England a great many times. And
Great feeling, food.
I've also, I lived in Scotland for a brief period of time. I did the Fringe Festival. So I would say that I have had a very good experience with UK cuisine. And inventive is definitely not a word I would use.
No, it's something about it for me, like a good Sunday roast. It's so simple and it's really comforting.
If you do get the proper traditional rustic fare, it is absolutely
Oh yeah, it's great.
delicious.
It's not complex, but it's great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of my personal favorites is the shepherd's pie. Just take a bunch of like things you'd find on a farm, mash up some potatoes, and bake it in an oven. Simple, to the point, delicious. Will kill you sooner rather than later.
Indeed.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here on the show. For everyone at home, Parish is on Steam, so go ahead and wishlist the game if it looks cool to you. It's going to be a great help to them. Hell, wishlist it even if it doesn't look cool to you, because either way, these guys are cool and their game is cool, and you should support it either way. aside from your Twitter tag at item 42 that I have been showing people throughout the show, is there anywhere else people should go to get information on Perish as you guys continue on with development?
Yeah, if you go to perishgame.com, that's got links to basically everything we want. There's a Discord, there's wishlisting the game on Steam. We've got links to our videos there and like more details and explanations about what the game is about. And if you're looking for, like, if you're a content producer or something, there's a press kit there with loads of images and GIFs and explanations there as well.
Awesome. Real quick, thank you so much for that press kit. It is something that, as I have been doing the show more and more frequently, I'm just finding myself enjoying so much. So,
yeah, gotta have one.
Exactly. Well, Brett, Regan, thank you so much for being here on the show. I'm going to switch over to this camera angle real quick. Apparently,
Thanks for inviting us.
Oh, absolutely. There we go. Fix
Really
that
enjoyed
up. I'll talk with you guys again in just a moment. But for now, hi, audience. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, feel free to go on down, hit that subscribe button, give us a quick thumbs up, and maybe if you're feeling generous, give that bell a quick little ring too. And just in case you haven't seen any of them before, go ahead and throw up link up there to the full playlist of all the previous episodes of That Tom Clancy Show, including several really bad ones. It's up to you to find them. But thank you so much for joining us. As always, remember to wear that mask, drink some water, have some vitamins, and be kind to each other, because it's not a race. We're all in this together. Thank you all again, and I'll see you on the next episode of That Tom Clancy Show. Later.